Good morning, good night. Eagle, my family. These are the fattest UFC fighters. Starting off with the biggest pig of the entire UFC roster, let alone the heavyweight division, Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa. Now, there's many reasons that he's the biggest pig of the UFC, right? Number one, he's a mana pig for Volkanovski and Israel Adesanya. Notice how when Tuivasa's winning, Israel Adesanya and Volkanovski are winning. If Tuivasa's losing, they're losing. It's because they force feed him to get him as fat as possible because of all this ancient Maori tradition, fucking satanic rituals. He's a what they call long pig, which is human flesh, which they feast on from him being a mana pig. They force feed him, make him as the fatter he is, and the more piggy he's being, the better mana he's going to give to Volkanovski and Israel Adesanya. And he's just naturally a fat Samoan idiot, just doing shoeies and sipping brewskis all day instead of going to the fucking training room, eating fucking long pig to make him as big as possible to be a mana pig. Next up, with someone who should literally be a welterweight. He's a Max Hollywood fucking size. He should be a featherweight, honestly. Junior Toffa. Hey, Junior Toffa, you're 140 pounds. You're a skinny man. You're supposed to be like 140 pounds. And the fact that you put on this much weight and you're like, for some reason, fighting at heavyweight, trying to be like, you know, your big bro, Justin Toffa, he's become like a fat little brat. Like, you know when like skinny people turn fat, they get all like pissy and everything, and they just become little brats? That's exactly what he did, and it completely goes into his fighting style. Like getting his legs fucked up by Mr. DeLima, and then just going trying to like go get all angry. He's getting all like visibly pissy, right? And I don't know if you knew this, but fighting is like 95% mental. He has all the physical capabilities. He has decent fucking striking. He's just a fat little brat, and it makes him lose. But moving on from that fat little brat, moving on to a big boy, a big jolly man known as the Pot of Greed, Alexander Romanov. He has a half a round of cardio. He shot one takedown on Alexander Volkov and immediately gassed out because he's been Big Maxing, right? McNugget fucking maxing, milkshake maxing, right? And honestly, he might be the fattest UFC heavyweight because his whole, you know how like, Robert Whittaker has the 1-2 head kick. Anderson Silva has like knees in the clinch. Dan Henderson has the H-bomb. Alex Pereira has, you know, the left hook. Alexander Romanov has the bitch choke. His special move is the bitch choke, where it's just a forearm choke. It's just a forearm choke where he just puts his forearm on top of you and puts all his weight on his forearm. And he choked out Mr. DeLima. He choked out like fucking 3 people with his walrus choke. It's the embodiment of a fat walrus choke. And speaking of fat walruses, we're gonna have to go Martin Buday for this next one. Now, he's kind of the opposite of what walrus have, like thick fat, like thick blubber that like actually helps them. Martin Buday is like a welterweight, and like if you just look at him walk around, his whole body's jiggling all over the place. That's loose fat. That's bad fat. Unlike the GOAT Alexander Romanov, and I can't stress this enough, but watch him fight. Every single time he moves, his entire body is jiggling. That's not supposed to happen. But on to our next one. I did want to be inclusive. I did want to be diverse. I feel like there's too many, you know, white men, right? So we're going to have to go with a thick black man in Chris Barnett. Beast Boy is literally his nickname. His nickname is Beast because he's a beast. He's one of, I think, 2 fighters that have missed the heavyweight limit. He weighed in like 285 pounds. The other person is Justin Toffa. But he literally invented one of the greatest moves of all time. And he should honestly teach this to Michel Pereira. The fat boy flip, where you do a front flip and land on your big black ass. He could knock out Francis Ngannou with that. Right, just another characteristic of him is he's an anime nerd. He's just some big fucking anime nerd.
Something smells good in there. What is that? What did you have to eat? That smells amazing. You gotta let me try that.
And that, it's just a personality trait of anime nerds. They're either rail thin with 0 testosterone, like British or whatever, or they are absolutely massive black men, which is exactly what Chris Bernard is. He is literally Lemare Lee from Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. I mean, it's literally the exact same fucking person. That's not good. He's like a fat WWE enjoyer. But onto our last fat heavyweight, right before we go into the honorable mentions. He just fought recently and quit in the fattest way possible. Shamil Gaziev. Now, here's the thing. Shamil Gaziev, is a mouth breather from birth. Okay, let's not pretend like he's not a Dagestan native and they have close relations. Let's just say that. Let's just say Dagestanis have close relations and it affects your breathing capabilities. It showed in his fight with Rosenstruck. He was mouth breathing the whole time. Not because he was tired, but because he literally cannot breathe through his nose. He is the anti-Muir. I absolutely mog him in jawline, hunter eyes, everything. Positive canthal tilt. But he literally has to be fat. Like, Dricus du Plessis is lucky that he's a white South African and he's meant to be muscular. Shamil Gaziev is a mouth breather from birth. There's no chance he loses 10 pounds because he cannot put himself through the vigorous amounts of cardio to do so with his insane Dagestani diet. It's literally impossible for him to not be fat. But let's get into some of the honorable mentions. Now, I was mentioning this fighter many times throughout this tier list. Justin Toff is number 1. Now, here's the reason I did not put him higher on the list, because he's Samoan. Like, Tuivasa is, you know, a little lighter skinned or whatever. He's like Maori. Justin Toff is Samoan, and Samoan people are meant to be fat unless you're Junior Toff. Junior Toff is meant to be like a Max Hollywood type of Samoan, where he's meant to be 140 pounds, but just like, you know, a cupcake maxed. Justin Toff is meant to be like 260 pounds plus. He's honestly skinny. Justin Toff is one of the skinniest Samoan men I've ever seen. So I did have to put him in the honorable mentions, but we're going to go through a couple more. Parker Porter, Chase Sherman, Jared Vandera, Jake Collier. I wish I could put them in this list, but they're all... These would have been the top people. Okay, these would have been the top fucking 4. The dream team, the Fantastic Four here. But they all got cut because the UFC's fat phobic. Now, this is a legit theory. The UFC is fat phobic. Notice how Augusto Sakai got cut after a win. Chase Sherman was robbed of his last fight and got cut from the UFC. Jake Collier had an insane fight with Muhammad Usman, got cut. Parker Porter had a fluky loss to Junior Taffa, got cut. The UFC is legitimately fat phobic, so I couldn't even put them at the top tier, but they would have been. And a couple other heavyweights too. Derek Lewis, I was going to put him in, but he's actually been working out. He's been actually hitting the fucking gym and has abs and shit. I know he went right back to the, you know, big old Jamal Hill belly. You know, Jamal Hill is another one of these fighters. But these other fighters are just way fatter than him. He's more so black than he is fat, right? He's just smoking Newport, sipping lean and shit, which makes him fat. These other fighters are just fat because they're like big giant pigs. And their last honorable mention is John Jones, because he is a light heavyweight, and he obviously DC max to get to the heavyweight, but he's still skinny on the inside. He's not like a Junior Topper where he's meant to be skinny. He's meant to be big, and he just embraced his, you know, fat boy spirit, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But these are my fattest UFC fighters currently. Let me know what you thought of this list. Like, comment, subscribe. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down below. Thank you all for watching. I have the best shooting. I have the best eyes in MMA YouTube. Look at this. Headshots, body shots. I've missed. There's 6 shots on this entire board that I missed, and 3 of them were nicks. So I have the best aim in MMA YouTube, and I'll stunt on any MFer that tries to press me. Thank you all for watching. Eagle MMA out.
Hey, Young Lean? Are you Young Lean?
What?
Are you Young Lean?
No, I'm Barry Dillon.